I'm Brian Scott Lipton, the theater reviewer for CityTour.com. I am talking to Dave Lefkowitz of Dave's Gone By for UNC Radio.
Here on the 11th Annual Total Theater Tony Show, celebrating the Tony Awards with people who are experts and who are passionate about the theater and Broadway. One of those folks who's been with us several times is back again. He is a frequent contributor to In New York magazine. Also, he writes for CityTour.com, Theater Pizzazz, EdgeOnTheNet.com. This intro is going to be longer than the actual interview. His name is Brian Scott Lipton, and we welcome him back. How are you doing, Brian?
Very well, thank you, Dave.
Now, some of these websites, I have to admit, I haven't heard of or haven't heard about in a long time. So please tell us, first of all, In New York magazine. That's been around for a while. What is it?
It is a print magazine that is distributed in the finest hotels in New York. Mm-hmm. My job is to do a lot of their celebrity cover stories. I've done Helen Mirren this year. I have Jim Parsons on the June cover and Matthew Morrison on the July cover. And
what about Edge on the Net? Is that new?
Edge on the Net is fairly new for me. It's about a year old as a client. It is one of the largest gay-oriented websites in the country. It's got portals in 30 different cities. While I cover also a lot of personalities, mostly in theater, I also talk to people in politics and charities, and it's been an amazing opportunity to speak with some of the most incredible people in the world.
Pretty cool. So you keep pretty busy with all these different writing assignments. Your reviews, though, are mostly in where?
Most of those I am the chief critic for CityTour.com, which is about a 12-year-old website. Some of my reviews can be seen on TheaterPizzazz.com, which is about a year-old website, and a few other smaller websites here in the city, including the New York Theater News Online.
Oh, New York Theater News Online. Of course, give my best to Roger. I used to write for him years ago. Anyway, let's get to the category that we're talking about with Brian Scott Lipton. It's featured actor in a play. The nominees are Matthew Beard for Skylight, K. Todd Freeman for Airline Highway, Richard McCabe, who plays Harold Wilson in The Audience, Alessandro Nivola for The Elephant Man, Nathaniel Parker in Wolf Hall, Parts 1 and 2, and newcomer Micah Stock for the comedy It's Only a Play. Brian Scott Lipton, play us through this category.
Well, this is probably the most interesting category in many ways this year. First of all, it is the only category that has 6 nominees, which is the first time for the Tonys. It's a change in the rules. So, one person can literally win, I think, mathematically by, 18%.
Huh.
So that's one of the interesting things. One of the other very interesting things is, well, some of these people have more experience than others. There's nothing really sentimental in this category. It's not like great veterans. It's not like there's going to be somebody who's way overdue. These are all basically first-time nominees. And also the size of the parts of these 6 people really vary from very substantial roles. Nathaniel Parker plays Henry VIII in Wolf Hall, and he's on stage. It's a 6-hour play. He's on stage for very large chunks of it.
That's fair, yeah.
And Alessandro Nivola plays the doctor in The Elephant Man, which many people actually really consider almost as much as the lead as John Merrick, who is, of course, played by the brilliant Bradley Cooper. Mm-hmm. And then you have people like Matthew Beard, who has 2 bookend scenes. He comes in the very first scene and the very last scene of Skylight. I don't know what stage time, but it's probably no more than 15 minutes.
So it's all rigging apples and oranges kind of a thing, which isn't fair.
It's apples and oranges kind of category. And then, of course, you have people like Micah Stock, who's brilliantly funny in It's Only a Play, and that's, a great comic role. And then you have K. Todd Freeman, who, as the drag queen Sisinana in Airline Highway, has some very funny, sassy lines, but it's a very also dramatic character, as are, of course, Nathaniel and Alessandro. And, of course, Richard McCabe, who plays Harold Wilson, the Queen, also comes up in a few different vignettes. He's on and off during that show. He's almost comic relief, but, nobody would consider The Audience truly a comedy. It's about Queen Elizabeth, played by the extraordinary Helen Mirren. So, yes, I think for any voter to really pick out why they're choosing whoever they're going to vote for this year is going to be in some ways very personal. What
do you hope will win, and what do you think will win?
This is really hard. Okay, if it's really a hope, and I think it may be my will, I would really love to see Micah Stock take home this prize. He is so extraordinarily funny as Gus, this sort of fresh hosted this really swanky party, and it's only a play. And for him to hold the stage with that cast, Nathan Lane, Matthew Broderick, and then indeed his first scene for about 10 minutes is exclusively with Nathan, and as anybody knows that my admiration for Nathan is extraordinary. I mean, to hold your own against Nathan, never mind maybe at times even steal a moment or steal a scene from him, is an achievement itself. So I think there may be a lot of sentiment in his favor for that. But I also think Richard McCabe was a revelation to me as somebody I've never seen before. He's a British actor, first time I believe, maybe in New York. And he did a great job as Harold Wilson. Kate Todd Friedman broke my heart as Sisinana.
Airline Highway.
And Sandra Parker was so impressive as Henry VIII. It's a very different Henry VIII than we've seen before. Considering that part has been played by so many different actors in so many different ways over the years, to be able to give it a fresh take, I think, is an award-worthy achievement in itself.
Well, but you've said that you kind of hope Micah Stock will win. Who do you think will win? Will it be he or some of those other folks that you mentioned?
At the moment, I'm putting what little betting money I would put on this category on Micah. The show is at least still running, which is always an advantage. And I think there may just be a real feeling of goodwill. But if it's not him, my best guess might be Richard McCabe, who just won the Outer Critics Circle Award. So, and
I have to say, I would hope McCabe would win, because I really liked his scenes with Helen Mirren in.
And also, let's face it, to hold your own against Helen Mirren, like I said, to hold your own against
Nathan Lane
is an achievement in itself. But the thing is, we're also talking about people who, as great as stars as they are also really incredibly gracious actors. One of the things that you have to admire about people like Nathan and Helen, they're not afraid to share the stage and to give the equal spotlight.
Well, if you were to give a spotlight to a play or musical that you saw this season, what was your favorite? The Broadway transfer, I guess we call it Fun Home, has stayed with me since I've seen it. It's a remarkable achievement. I was lucky enough to see it in the public, but I think what Sam Gold and Lisa Cronin and Janine Tesori and this cast has done, and especially doing it around in Almost Square, and Michael Cerveris and Judy Kuhn, it's just heartbreaking. And of course, it would be remiss not to mention next year's probably big Tony winner, Hamilton. Yeah, a lot of things coming from the public that people are liking this past season.
Yeah, I mean, the public is such a smart institution, and they take their time, and they do workshops, and they do labs, and they develop it, and they take their chance on artists that commercially minded theaters might not be willing to do, and I think we should be very grateful for them. And I think that's true. So many things have come this year from Off-Broadway, Hand to God, which was developed at both EST and MCC, which I love, and I think we have to thank London as well. You know, unfortunately, very little comes right now straight to Broadway. It has to be developed elsewhere.
Right. Well, thank goodness for Off-Broadway and even occasionally off-Broadway that launches something. So we are very grateful to you, Brian Scott Lipton, for being with us once again on our Tony Show. Remember that you can read him in all these different places. His reviews are on citytour.com and theaterpizzazz.com. He also writes a lot of articles for In New York Magazine and Edge on the Net. Well, we hate to push you off the edge of this segment, Brian, but we do hope that you will come back next year and tell us all about the Tonys then. Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Dave, and I hope everybody tunes into the Tonys June 7th on CBS.